ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Town Board meeting of Monday, January 5th. We take considerable pride and pleasure in welcoming Dennis McWaters, our new councilman. And if you would also remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would remain standing, and it's pretty obvious, it's to show our respect, our support, our love, and our thoughts forever for the two murdered, assassinated, killed, brave policemen in New York City last week, and their families, and that these horrible things find their way and surface less and less as we become more enlightened and a better society. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Please be seated.
Harley,
Yes.
if I may just say something, I just would like to thank everyone who had the patience for my office through my difficult family time. So I would like to just thank everybody, and it's 2015 and be moving forward, but you know, I was not in the office there for a while, and the residents were very understanding of my situation. I just would like to thank them.
Okay. Mary Ellen, thank you very much. Before we move forward, this is a traditional reorganization meeting. That being said, usually it's been the policy not to have public comment. However, this is just my opinion, it would be perhaps fitting if we did have public comment this evening. I know that there's some issues also. Many of you would like to come up and congratulate Councilman McWaters, and I think that would be wonderful. So perhaps this is a time to celebrate our new councilman and wish him luck. You can do it on TV. I know that you've probably done it face-to-face, and we're looking forward to this being a first step and a good step in the future of the town of Monroe. That being said, we're going to move to reorg. This is the time of the year where we begin to evaluate and appoint the folks that are going to be on the different town boards. We'll begin with the gentleman, guide me through this if you can. We have the town offices under Section 25 of the town law, which requires the oath of office for every town official within 15 days. Everyone has been sworn in. I'm not going to go through this in terms of the term's expiration dates, but it's myself, Arlie Knowles, Jerry McQuaid, Richard Colon, Dennis Waters, Dan Burke, Mary Ellen Beans, Lurlin Winchester, Steve Milligram, and Highway Superintendent Anthony Rizzo. These are all 4-year terms, with the exception of Dennis Waters' term, who is satisfying the balance of my councilman's terms, and will, in all likelihood, we'll see him hit another 4-year stride next November. Okay. We have the officers appointed by the town board. We have the assessor, April McDonald. Her term expires in 9/1/2019. We have the registrar's vital statistics. That's Mary Ellen Beams. That's coterminous with the term of office of the town clerk under Public Health Law 4121 and 4123. We have the deputy registrar, Patty Cash, for a 1-year term of 12/31, expiring 2014, and that is an appointment by the registrar. We also have one for the acting superintendent, the acting supervisor. That is a 1-year term, an unpaid term, and it's a 1-year term when I'm not here. That person would carry on the functions of the supervisor for the town of Monroe. We need a motion for that?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Gerard McQuaid as our acting supervisor.
I'll second.
Gentlemen, any discussion? That being said, call the question.
Aye.
Aye. We need we have the tax collector. We have the tax collector, Mary Ellen Beams, which is a 1-year term. That's beginning 12/31. Oh my gosh, 12/31/15. We need an appointment motion for that.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
This is for our deputy tax collector, Patty Cash. This is for a 1-year term, 12/31/2015.
I'll make the motion.
Send a second. Any discussion? Call question.
Aye.
Patty, I want to thank you. We usually see Mary Ellen here. What was that? We usually see Mary Ellen here, and anyone who knows Patty knows that she's an incredible woman, and she works as hard as one can ever imagine. We have our town attorney, Tagoba Donnelly and Donovan LLP. The term expires December 31st, 2015. We need a motion for that.
So moved.
We need a second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Call question.
Aye.
We have the town engineer, McGuey Housing Net, so the term expires December 31st, 2015. Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Need a second?
Second.
Call the question.
Aye.
Office is appointed by the supervisor. We have the bookkeeper, however, I'm going to reserve an appointment for that for the time being. We have the historian, Jim Nelson. This is a reappointment for 12/31/2015. We need a motion for that.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
We need a second.
I'll second.
Call question.
Aye.
Under Town Law 20-3-C, officers appointed by, I missed something. Okay. Officers appointed by the town clerk under Town Law Section 20-3-C. We have Patricia Clark, Deputy Clerk Patricia Cash. 1 year expiring 12/31/2015. I need a motion for that.
No,
That's actually
No,
not
no,
town
okay,
clerk.
town clerk will handle it.
Mary Ellen. We have Mary Ellen.
the following people I will be appointing as my deputies: Patricia Cash, Dalia Zagadin, and Alexander Travato. Alexander is a new employee in my office, and I would like to introduce everyone to her. So you will have the pleasure of hearing her voice, and hopefully if you come into our office, of dealing with her personally. Thank you.
Okay. We have officers appointed by sorry. We have the officers appointed by the Superintendent of Highways, Deputy Superintendent of Highways. That term expires 12/31. It should be 4/15. It says 15. It should be 15. Mr. Rizzo, that's your appointment. Do you have somebody?
Yes, that would be Ricky Beams.
Okay.
It's my deputy last year. I reappointed him.
Okay. We have, for the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals, one member, chairman designated annually. However, I think this is for the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals, one member, and, okay. We have a term, an open term for 2014. It's a 7-year term. It would expire, Michael, correct me, it would be expire 2020 or 21?
21.
21. We need a motion. A motion to appoint.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Lisa McQuaid to the planning board.
We need a second for it. We need a second. Seeing that there's no second. Is there a second?
I'll second the discussion.
Okay. Gentlemen, discussion?
I'd like to make at least 2 points here. The first one was that I did put in writing my understanding, according to town code, what the terms of office was for each of the individuals listed on this page. I had asked council to confer with my conclusions. He sent out a lengthy discussion taking into account each year in which a term expired and who replaced that person. What I'm looking at here tonight on page 4 is the same thing that was out there on the 30th December. And on top of that, none of this appeared online. There was an agenda, but it did not include any of this information. Obviously, this was still up in the air as of 4 o'clock this afternoon, so I guess we couldn't get it in here in time. My second point that I want to make is that I am not in agreement, not that I'm against Mrs. McQuaid. I think she'd probably make a fine member. I would like to see her possibly appointed to the ZBA. But we really need Mary Bingham to remain as chairperson. She's done a great job. She understands the applications. She's introduced electronics to the meetings so that the audience can see the maps and any discussion points that the board is going through. My feeling is that there are too many junior people who would be left in that board if Mary were to leave. And I'd be at a loss to find someone else who could be chairperson. Those are my feelings.
We need the second, we need any further discussion? Or?
Well, I'll say that, Mary did 5 years on the planning board. She's came on as a new person with some background, but not a whole lot in planning. She did a good job, but that 5 years is up, and we want to move on. We want to try somebody else.
Why? Did she do a good job?
Yeah, she did a good job. Why would we want to replace her?
Exactly. Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, this isn't a forum where we would be laying out the reasons that we don't want Mary to continue. It was just, it's unfair to her, and I'm not going to say it. It's just that I would not vote to reappoint her.
I think whoever made the motion should move to withdraw, and we can do this in executive session to talk about personnel.
Daniel, you made the motion.
Okay, I'll suspend it until we have a executive session about personnel. So we can speak frankly. We can speak frankly about why we're not, why I wouldn't vote to reappoint Mary Bingham.
Would there be another candidate that you may have in mind for that position, if not Ms. McQuaid?
No, let's do the executive session. Well, let's
Stop calling out.
No, we have the one before us. I think we should do that first.
Where do you think you are?
I don't want to.
Stop.
I want to nominate someone else at this point. I want to
Stop.
do this to a conclusion.
Well, we can do a conclusion right here. Why do we have to go into executive to reach a conclusion?
Well, the reason, if you don't mind me interrupting, is that Dennis really hasn't heard from us, from me personally, the problems I have with that reappointment. And I think he's entitled to hear from me directly why I wouldn't vote for that reappointment. So I'd like to do that.
Withdraw your motion.
I laid it aside.
You can't do zoning board because this goes right down the line.
No, well, let's do the session right now.
Well, then we'll, we need a motion to move into executive session to discuss personnel matters related to Mary Bingham.
Would the board like to hear from
Okay.
other planning board members?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. We already have it. I'll make a motion to go into executive session with personnel issues.
Good try, Audra. Point of order?
I'll make a
Need a
motion.
second?
I'll second it.
Call question?
Aye.
Okay, we'll be back in 10 minutes.
We need a motion to return to public session.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Aye.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a motion on the board to appoint, sorry?
Yeah, I put that aside, but I'll resurrect that motion to appoint Lisa McQuaid to the planning board.
We need a second?
Second.
Call the question? Discussion.
Well, I've worked with her. She was a treasurer of one of our organizations. She's dependable, intelligent. You can count on her, and she's a fair person. And I support her, and I think she'll do a great job in the planning board.
We've also had, as you can see, extensive conversation about this matter and considering alternatives as well. So we have to bring it back to a vote. Gentlemen?
Gentlemen, call the question?
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We have a motion to appoint the chair. I would like to make a motion that we waive the traditional appointment of the chair by the town of Monroe and give that procedure and authorization to the planning board. Mike, am I framing it correctly?
Town Law 271, Section 271 says that upon the failure of the town board to appoint the chair of the planning board selects its own chair.
Gentlemen, we need a motion because we're going to be deviating from the reorg.
I'll make the motion that we not make a choice on the chairperson for the planning board, and we'll let the planning board make their own decision on that.
I'll second that. The planning board must make its own determination.
Gentlemen, any further discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Regarding the zoning board of appeals, a 5-year term, we have 2 vacancies. We have 2 vacancies. The first vacancy expires 12/31/2019. I need a motion for. Okay. Good.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Abe Muller to the vacant ZBA position, ending in 12/31/2019.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know Mr. Muller is works for a developer. He knows his stuff. I don't think that he's ever had a project in the town of Monroe, in the villages here in the unincorporated part of the town. He's in no way associated. He's no way associated with any project in the villages of Monroe, or let me rephrase this, in the unincorporated part of the town where we have organization over. So it's pretty neutral, but he has definitely a good, solid background. Any further discussion? That being said, call the question.
Aye.
No. We have a vacancy for the zoning board, expiration date 12/31/2016. And is there anyone who would like to make a appointment?
Well, I'll nominate Susan Sallow.
We need a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? Susan Sallow is a woman that worked for the town of Monroe. I believe she works for the Orange County, she worked in the assessor's office.
She's a building inspector.
She's a building inspector,
Not in the town, but she's trained as a building inspector.
trained as a building inspector. She volunteered, and she certainly has the qualifications to be able to sit. I've met her a couple of times. That's the extent of my association with her, but she had expressed an interest to serve, and she, according to her work record, she did a very, very good job for the pretty time that she was working for the assessor's office. And her name is Susan Sallow.
Thank you.
We need a second. Sorry. Call the question.
Aye.
We have for Jonas Hoffman, the extension for, which expires 2017. Joseph Davis, 2018. Yvette Susie Francois, expiration date 2017. We also have the alternate members, expiration of 2019 for both. In the absence of that, unless you want to move forward, we need to appoint a ZBA chair.
I'll make the motion. I would like to appoint Eve Susie Francois to be the chairperson of the ZBA.
I'll second the motion.
Call for discussion.
She's the present chair, and she's doing an excellent job.
Gentlemen, any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
And let me just point out, there's 2 vacancies for alternate members of the zoning board of appeals. If anybody's interested, contact us and discuss it, and at the next meeting we can appoint alternates.
We have under number G, item G, Board of Ethics, 5-year terms, the Monroe Town Code, section 4-7 of the Municipal Law, section 808, 9 members of whom must be elected or appointed, or an appointed town employee. We have a vacancy, which the expiration date is 12/31/2016. Jerry, I believe you have a...
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Matt Holminger for this appointment on the Board of Ethics term to expire 12/31/2016.
I'd second that nomination.
Okay, any discussion?
Well, you know, he's a well-known public citizen. He gets up here and he speaks his mind, and I think that's what we're looking for in the ethics board.
Call the question?
But I just want to say, I talked to Matt yesterday, and as we had a good discussion about the town, Matt and I don't always agree, but Matt's always upfront and honest, and I believe that he really cares about the town. And I thought it'd be a good appointment because he's what I consider to be a straight shooter, and I think he'll make conscientious decisions when he has to, if something comes up.
Any further discussion? Call the question?
Aye.
We have
Second position?
John Vest, a reappointment for John Vest.
I'll vote to, I'll make a motion to reappoint John Vest for the position on the Board of Ethics.
I'll second it.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye. We have Andre Varin, whose term expires 12/31/15. Susie Francois again, 12/31/2017. We have Leo Platznick. Mr. Platznick, God bless you because you have incredible patience. You keep on coming and coming to try to get these Board of Ethics things going, and good for you. Let's see if we can make this happen.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Leon Platitnik for the Board of Ethics for a new term because his term expired.
I'll second the motion.
Second, call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
We have a Peter Neubauer.
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Peter Neubauer to the Board of Ethics because the term has just expired to a new term on the Board of Ethics. I've known Pete for a while. I need a second.
I'll second it.
I've known Pete for a long time. He's a decent guy. He is a hard-working family man in the area. He, fellow commuter like me, goes down the city every day back and forth, but he still likes to try and get involved in the community as much as he can. And even though we don't always agree on Monroe politics and other things, I think he always does what he feels best for the town.
That being said, call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
Carolyn Falk, expiration date 2018. There are also 2 vacancies that we would like to have filled. If there's anybody that expresses an interest, please let us know.
I'd like to make a nomination, if I may.
You got it.
There's one person I think that would really be a terrific addition to this board, because I think that she is really a person that cares not only about this town and everybody in it and the way things are, and she's a real hard worker. Fran Perchik, I think, would be a fantastic addition to this ethics board because she has the ethics. I'd like to make that a motion to put Fran Perchik.
Wait, let me second. I'll second. Any discussion?
Fran's very community-minded and she's done a lot.
Absolutely.
Trying to get us information on different issues that she feels are important for the town. I think it's a great choice for her.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
Is Fran here?
Thank you.
You know, Fran, I didn't know you were here, so I'm going to now modify what I was going to say. If there's any one person I've met in the past couple of years who their dedication to what they believe in could change the course of events, it's this young lady. She came here in a way, a number of years ago. She had a concern about property where she lived, and she was honest, intelligent, and she persevered. Fortunately for her, there was really no outgrowth that occurred on the property that she was worried about or frightened about being developed into some type of a expanded type of a situation. And then came along this issue with the casinos. And she convinced this board to interview and commit resources of the taxpayers to make sure that we were able to submit a well-crafted argument as to why we would look at the casinos as being something which was not compatible with this town. And she did it in a way, and she walked into my office thinking that it may be an argument, but she walked out with me being a supporter. So I thank you for your approach, because quite frankly, your approach works. And I would welcome you being on the Board of Ethics, because I think before you pass judgment on a person, you would want to get to know the facts. Gentlemen, call the question.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Here's another person. We have one more vacancy.
We can't fill that.
We can't? Okay. All right, we have for the Conservation Committee, the Commission, 2-year terms, Ward. Let me look at you, Ward. 2. We have Sarah Dunlap, a reappointment, 12/31. She just got on. So it's a reappointment for, I guess, 2016? But then it would be a 2-year term.
Yes, it would.
It would be, okay.
Yeah,
Right, the 2016 expiration date.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Reappoint Sandra Dunlap.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
We have a Peter Dombrowski, a reappointment for the same time, 12/31/2014.
He's fine,
Okay.
months ago.
Sorry, no, my apologies. We have a John Ebert, we have a John, we have the John Ebert. The term expires 12/31/2015. Robert O'Neill, term expires 12/31/2015. We have Ward Brower. We have a term expires 12/31/2014. We have
Yeah, I make a motion to reappoint Ward Brower for another 2-year term.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this?
Ward does a great job, and we appreciate his efforts. Thank you, Ward.
I'll add. Ward, you are one of the best examples of the loyal opposition. I don't know when the last time we agreed, but I know that I respect and admire all the things that you stand for. So, my pleasure to say yes to you.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I think as long as we're shoveling compost. Well done, the man who looks up for all the things we like to dump at the curbside. As a conservationist whose family has had a long tradition of watching the ecology of this town, I think Ward would be a fine, again, to be reappointed. So I'd like to see him back on the board.
That being said, call the question.
Aye.
We have a Bonnie Cranston, her term expires 12/31/2015. We also have a Jerry Mead. His term has expired, and we need the appointment for that. Or is nodding his head. Okay, or
I'll make
not yet, Jerry's
I'll make the motion to reappoint Jerry Mead on the Conservation Commission.
I'll second it.
Call the question.
Aye.
Under per diem meal allowance for travel on
No, wait, we have the chair.
Chairman, my apology. We need a motion for a chair. That chair is an annual reappointment. Currently it is John Ebert.
And I'll make a motion that we reappoint John Ebert to chair of the Conservation Commission.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
He does a great job.
Call the question.
Aye.
For the per diem meal allowance for travel on official business, whereas the General Municipal Law, Section 77B, has been revised and that the town may now provide its office and employees with a reasonable per diem allowance for meals in conjunction with travel on official business, taking into consideration the cost of living of the locality and subject to the maximum equal to the standard meal allowance for business-related travel prescribed for federal income tax purposes. Be resolved that the town of Monroe shall provide a per diem meal allowance as reflected in the town handbook in lieu of payment of actual and necessary meal allowances. Receipts shall be required for food expense. On a motion by?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Seconded. Call the question.
Aye.
Under meal mileage reimbursement allowance, whereas the town of Monroe Board is determined to pay a fixed rate per mileage as reimbursement to the officers and employees of the town who use their personal automobiles while performing their official duties on behalf of the town. Now therefore be resolved that the town board shall approve the reimbursement to such employees at the IRS approved rate. Currently that rate is 57.5 cents per mile. We need a motion for that?
I'll make. Okay, I'll second it then.
Second,
Discussion?
any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to mention to the public that usually this mileage reimbursement is when especially concerning the town board, that the town board members only use it when they go on say a long trip where the educational situation might be, 30, 40, 50 miles away. Then they might, and can obviously get reimbursed for that. It's a trip to New York City, which we take every February for the association's educational seminars. Generally, the members would use it then. But basically, what the members of this board do, and many other boards around the state, they tend not to use any of the mileage that they use around town, which it does add up because a mile here, 3 miles there, 5 miles there, it comes up to, wear and tear in your car and gas mileage, gas prices. But, basically, we don't use that as a reason to cash in on the 57.5 cents per mile. And we just use it for long trips. Now, the employees of the town generally tend to use it for, every time they have to use the car, which we understand their employees, it's a little different, they weren't elected. It's their job. But I just want to make that clear to the public that that's generally how we do it, and that's how a lot of towns and villages officers do it. There's not any abuse of it. And now that we do have a town vehicle that can be shared by different offices in the town and by different departments, we're trying to work that in where we use that more often. But still, we find, as probably most of the board members here can attest to, Dennis surely will know shortly, we will still be using our towns to bounce around and meet the constituents and deal with issues, but that's all well within what we signed on to do here. Just letting you know how it works so you don't think it's being overdone. Thank you.
Okay. That being said, we need a motion.
Didn't need to
Approve. I'm sorry. Call the question.
Aye.
Rules of procedure, town law. Be it resolved that the town of Monroe board shall conduct itself according to the Robert's Rules of Order to the extent Robert's Rules of Order are consistent with the town law of the state of New York. On a motion by?
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
The open meetings law requirements, the town law. Regular monthly meetings. Be it resolved that the town board of Monroe, that the town board shall convene for a regular meeting on the first and third Mondays of each month, 2015, with the following exceptions. We're waiting for the town board meeting dates to be approved. January 26th instead of January 19th, which is Martin Luther King Day, and November 5th, Thursday, and November 2nd, Election Day.
Instead of.
Be it further resolved that all town board meetings shall be held at the Monroe Senior Center, 101 Mine Road, Monroe, New York, or at the Town of Monroe Art and Civic Center, also known as TMAC, 34 Mill Pond Parkway, Monroe, New York, at the town board selection. All meetings shall begin at 7:30 p.m. unless noticed for a different time. On a motion by?
I'll make that motion.
Seconded by?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
The requirements of special meetings. The requirements for the special meeting are set forth in section 62 of the town law of the state of New York. The supervisor of the town may, upon written request of 2 members of the town board, shall within 10 days call a special meeting of the town board by giving it at least 2 days' notice in writing to members of the board of the town when and place where the meeting is to be held. The requirements for public office for the special meeting
Turn that off.
are set forth in section 104 of the public office law of the state of New York. For the state of New York, public notice of every special meeting shall be given to the extent practicable to the news media and shall be conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations at a reasonable time prior thereto. Be it resolved that the town designated public locations for special meetings shall be the bulletin boards of the town hall and John DeAngelis Hall. On a motion by?
Harley?
Yes.
just a correction, John D'Angelo's hall was taken out last year, so it's just the town hall bulletin board.
Should we add, Marvin?
Yeah.
Should we add also the senior center here, since we have the bulletin board is still at the main one, and also here as well, temporarily?
Michael, what is Mary Ellen?
Mary Ellen?
I have a bulletin board downstairs.
I have a bulletin board downstairs, and that's where I post them. And I look at this is town hall right now, because
Was
this
that
is
101
what
Mine
we
Road,
business.
right? So the bulletin board for Town Hall, temporary location at 101 Mine Road.
Consider temporary town hall at 101 Monroe Road until further notice.
Gentlemen, need a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Need a second?
Second.
Call question?
Aye.
Aye.
The official newspaper be resolved that the official newspaper of the Monroe Town Board shall be the Times Hall Record.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I know that the voting list is here, so Mr. Quinn, I know that's some reflection, but I believe it's because it's a daily newspaper that we need to use the Times Hall Record as the official newspaper. We need a motion?
Call the question.
Call the question?
Aye.
Okay, official depository, be resolved that the official depository for the Monroe Town Board shall be the M&T Bank, J.P. Morgan Chase Bank, Sterling National, TD Bank North, and Key Bank. Got a motion by?
I'll make the motion.
Seconded by.
I'll
Dick
second.
seconded.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Be it resolved that the tax collector is authorized to maintain a petty cash amount not to exceed $500. On a motion by?
I'll make that.
A second.
No second.
Call the question.
Aye.
Call the question.
Aye.
My apology. Purchase authorization for highway superintendent, highway local law 142-1-A. Be it resolved that the highway superintendent of highways is authorized to purchase equipment, tools, and implements during the 2014 without prior approval of the town board in the amount not to exceed $5,000.
Yeah. I'll make that motion, but we'll update it to 2015.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
Accounting and financial reports. Be it resolved that the Monroe Town Board shall engage the service of a certified public accountant or someone of equivalent expertise to make an annual audit to be completed within 90 days after the close of the fiscal year pursuant to the Town Law Section 62-1 and Section 123. Be it further resolved that the supervisor shall submit to the town clerk within 120 days after the close of the fiscal year a copy of the annual financial report to the state comptroller, and the town clerk shall cause a summary of such report or notice that a copy of such report is on file and available for inspection or copy to be published within 10 days in the official town newspaper pursuant to town law section 2110-A. On a motion by?
I'll move that.
Seconded by?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
It's section 29, I'll just leave it.
Section 29,
Yeah.
10-A. That's why I have a second? Second?
Yeah.
Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
A resolution regarding return checks. Be it resolved that the town board shall impose a charge of $20 on each check tendered as payment in return for insufficient funds under General Municipal Law Section 85. On a motion by?
I'll make that motion.
And second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Resolution authorizing immediate deposit of funds. Be it resolved that the tax collector is authorized to deposit all tax collections and interest-bearing accounts as a temporary investment measure. That under General Municipal Law Section 11. On a motion by?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Second. Call the question. Sorry.
Aye.
Discussion. Question. Sorry.
Aye.
Number 13, be it resolved that the town of Monroe shall observe the following holiday schedule for its employees. Thursday, January 1, New Year's Day. Monday, January 19th, 2015, Martin Luther King Day. January 16th, President's Day. May 25th, Memorial Day. July 6th, Independence Day. September 7th, Labor Day. October 12th, Columbus Day. November 11th, Veterans Day. November 26th, Thanksgiving. November 27th, Thanksgiving. December 24th, November 24th, half-day Christmas observation, and Friday, December 25th, Christmas observation. Approved by the town board on December
15th.
15th, 2014.
Right, we approve it. Now, there's one issue that came up with that. I'd like to make a motion, there was a typo. Somehow we made the July 4th holiday weekend day off on Monday, July 6th, when actually because the holiday's on a Saturday, we should have made it Friday, July 3rd. So I'd like to make a motion that we change the day off for the town employees on the Independence Day weekend from the Monday, July 6th, and change it to Friday, July 3rd, 2015.
And I'll second that motion. And it just so happens we have a town board meeting on July the 6th.
Okay, that works. Just an oversight, that's all.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that concludes the part of the 2015 reorg. The next part would be the approval of minutes.
Carly, due to the flooding of my office on Friday and all my computers called out, the minutes were not sent out to the board members, so you're gonna have to hold them.
Mary Ellen, there's a couple of things that we may have some disconnect with this evening regarding the paperwork, because, again, Mary Ellen mentioned.
I don't know if the public was aware, but on Friday afternoon, a urinal overflowed upstairs here in the senior center, and the water came crashing through the ceiling of the town clerk's office. And we're lucky that we didn't lose the computers, but we were flooded. And the quick thinking of my two deputies, thank God they pulled the computers out. So we were closed today. We will be back up operational tomorrow. And we're very fortunate that we didn't lose the computers.
So we're going to bypass the minutes, moving to the upcoming meeting dates and general announcements. We have in the month of January, obviously we have our town board meeting presently. We have a planning board meeting on the 13th. Gentlemen, help me out here. Boy, has this changed. We have the Conservation Commission on the 21st and a ZBA meeting on the 27th. February, we have planning on the 3rd. We have a conservation at 7:30 on the 18th, as well as our ZBA meeting scheduled for the 24th. We have a brief announcement regarding Dan would like to discuss pending cost analysis for the boathouse.
Oh yeah, that is brief. At the last meeting, we were talking about profit and loss statement for the boathouse operations, and I got two good imitations of ducks and swans. So, but I've spoken with the controller, and I've also spoken with the firm that does our audit. And when they come in February, they're going to take a look at that. They'll discuss it with me and with Peter Martin, and they'll produce that for us. So it should be interesting.
Mr. Supervisor, just a note, brief note here on the calendar. It's not marked for the 26th. We have a town board meeting that day, correct? That's a Monday.
Yep.
It wasn't listed, I guess, because of the change we made.
Yep. That would be a town board meeting at 7:30.
Right.
Here at the senior center.
The 19th, it had to be moved.
Okay.
On the
Right,
26th, right?
Right, 26th. Thank you. We have. This is for the round lake treatment for allied biological. We'll waive the $50 fees permitting fee and reduce the permit cost by $100. The freshwater permit cost is now $550. $50 the town extended last year's permits at a cost of $100. I know that we had negotiated with allied biological to get a reduction in that, and we were able to prevail. So we saved the town a couple of dollars for permitting and some application costs that usually are somewhat fixed. We have Peter, I'll do this one first. We have a budgetary amendment of the transfers at the comptroller's request. We have a transfer of $20,000, $20,440 from Highway, Hospital, and Medical. It's DB 009060-8000-00 to the DB 00-90108000-00 Highway Retirement. Need a motion?
Make a motion.
Discussion.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Any,
Could I get a clarification from the controller as to what fiscal year this pertains to?
This is 2014. These are all for 2014.
All for 2014, thank you.
Any further discussion? Not call the question.
Aye.
Aye. We have a transfer of $12,700 from DB 001990-0000-00 Highway Contingency to DB 9010-8000-00 Highway Retirement. Need a motion?
What is it about?
Yeah,
I'll make
so
a
moved. Go ahead, Jerry.
I made a motion. Second.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Discussion, what is it?
Yeah, Peter, lay that out for us.
The 2014 budget for the highway retirement was underestimated in the budget. And we have other places where we haven't spent all the money that was budgeted. So all these are adjustments of the funds so that we have a balanced budget at the end of 2014. We're not allowed to have overspending on any given line. So these are just correcting negative line items in the budget.
Thank you.
No subterfuge in any of this.
Okay, thank you very much.
This is not, in other words, we're not taking it out of any,
No, it's from a line to a line.
that's all I want to know.
That's right, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
Transfers for $3,400 from DB 00-9040-8000-00 Workers' Compensation to DB 00-1910-8000-00 Highway Retirement. Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
We need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? If somebody wants Peter to
Peter?
explain that?
Any discussion
All
or
these
explanation
are all
for the public?
the same point. The retirement line was underfunded by $40,000. Part of that came about because the state gave us an adjustment in the cost of the retirement system, unanticipated, that raised the total retirement bill for the town by over $30,000. The bulk of it happened to fall within the highway because it's set up by class of the potential retirees and the tier that they're in. So that's how it occurred.
We have a lot of long-term workers with the highway department.
Yeah,
Right.
that's correct.
Right.
Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
We have a transfer of $2,700 from DB 00-9055-8000-00 Disability to DB 00-9010-8000-00 Highway Retirement. Peter?
Well, I'll make the motion, so.
Sorry, make a
Second.
motion, any second?
Second.
Peter?
Again, as I said, these are all, we're looking through the highway budget in the DB fund to make up the difference of $40,000 that the retirement line was underfunded. So we're just going to lines that are surplus at the end of 2014 and moving the money officially to fund the retirement line.
We need a call the question.
Aye.
Transfer of $4,350 from A00-1220-1030-00 Supervisor Compensation Part-Time to A000-3010-1030-00 Public Safety Compensation. Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Discussion? Peter?
The public safety compensation was underfunded. Some of,
Not anymore.
Any further discussion?
It's a transfer, that's all.
I don't know why it's so funny, but anyway, it was underfunded.
Well, we made an adjustment.
It's a new department, you added more people and you added more responsibilities. And because of that, the line didn't have sufficient funds in it to get through 2014.
What most people, some people in the audience might not realize is the vast majority of this money is, as we've explained over and over again, is used in the court. We're under certain state guidelines and court guidelines that we are responsible, we're responsible to provide a certain amount of security in the courthouse. If we don't, we would then be negligent in our duty to the safety of the people who go to the courthouse, whether to pay fines, whatever they have, whatever business they have there. So we have to provide safety there during the day, even when court's not in session. Now, if we were not to do that and something tragic was to happen, there would not be snickering going on. There would be lawsuits that would hurt the town immensely. So we have to pay this money to protect the town and the people who go into the courthouse, whether to work, be a judge there, or to go to the court for whatever reason they're there, to pay a fine, anything like that. It's serious business, so we have to pay for it, like every other town does.
That's correct, and just to add on to that, for the 2015 budget, the public safety lines have been broken out to reflect the court, the meetings, other events like providing direct, when we have an election and we need extra people in the parking lot to direct traffic. So these things have been broken out now in the budget so that everybody can look in the budget and see where the money is being spent, as opposed to having it all sitting on a single line.
Right. And this may change within the next year. If the public and the board would like to expand and create an actual policing authority so that it would, let me finish, so that it would create, and this is not my idea, this is something which was suggested, we have a group of people that would like to move and be annexed into another area because they do have policing authority. The village of Monroe spends, and the mayor is here, probably upwards of $2 million a year. We, I think, spend about $100,000. But some of the complaints was that the town of Monroe does not have a policing authority, and as a result, they feel unsafe, and because they believe that the New York State Troopers cannot and do not provide the level of protection that they feel is necessary, and it would be incumbent on the board to at least consider the sensitive nature of their concerns and address them accordingly as we start responding as what I would consider as an involved agency in the upcoming annexation review. That being said,
I would like to make a comment. In my experience in budgeting and planning, one shies away from going over budget. Now I realize we've got to move lines for the end of the year. But if we had seen this coming up, there are ways to eliminate $4,300, which we could have done during the course of the year.
Not on the
and the courts still would have been protected.
The $42,000.
Gentlemen, I apologize, but we don't need you here.
Well, Dennis, I'll say I do happen to disagree with you because if you were here when we had the state come down to the town of Monroe after there was some tragic events in Middletown and down I guess it was Suffern area? Slopesburg, I'm sorry. The problem is that we were told that after a review of security here that we had to make certain upgrades, and we had people who were actually trained professionals in that field, which I have to show some respect for their knowledge in what they're talking about when they came here. And they showed, we had all the employees come, we talked about all different security issues and employee violence in the workplace and all kinds of issues that, sometimes in the past were not addressed in municipalities. And they came up with suggestions. They did say we had to make improvements, and we went about making them in the courtroom and other places. There has been a societal shift. Sometimes I feel that in the last 20 years compared to the 20 years before that, there's been a lot of people in our society who, for whatever reason, might become somewhat unhinged, if you don't have a better term, and have caused harm to other people, whether with gunfire or other avenues of violence. And this is unfortunately the society that we're living in this state, so we have to protect everybody here. It's not just, and I know people are going on about the board. The board, of course the board wants to go home. No one doesn't want to come home because someone got mad at them and decided to take matters into a wild way of retribution. But it also protects people who come here to the meetings and their children, because a lot of members of the town sometimes bring children to the meetings, young adults, come in from the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts and see, get awards or whatnot. We have to make sure that everyone has some modicum of protection in case something goes wrong. If you disagree with that, I'm sorry, but I think it makes some sense. Thank you.
To your point, Jerry, that was very eloquent. However, I would love to see the documentation and the minutes of those meetings that you have with those specific agencies.
Okay. We'll go look at that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Harley, you have one more.
Call the question.
No?
What is that?
We have transfer of $130,000.
Let me ask, there were two transfers for $4,350. One is the public safety compensation and the other is the highway retirement. Did we do both of those? Mariel, do you have the
No,
No.
we need to do the one above the supervisor compensation.
Oh, okay.
It's the transfer of $4,350 from the DB 005110-2000-01 equipment rental to the DB 0090-10 8000-00 highway retirement.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yep.
Wasn't there already a motion on the floor? Yeah. Weren't we talking about public safety?
Dennis,
Did we vote that?
I think it was voted on, that's fine.
Did we vote?
Let's vote on
No.
the transfer from the 4350 for the supervisor compensation switch to public safety. I didn't think we made a motion on that.
Okay.
We had the discussion, let's say it's a continuous. We're going to continue discussion. Any continuous discussion? That being said, can we call the question?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
The transfer from $4,350 from the DB 00-5110-2000-01 equipment rental to the DB 00-9010-8000-00 highway retirement.
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Aye.
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 One more.
Transfer of the $130,000 for the A000-1622-2000-00, the theater equipment and capital outlay to the HO 24-7010-2000-00 Civic Center equipment and capital outlay. Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
We need a second.
I'll second it.
Specifically, what is this for?
Peter?
I must have missed that meeting.
Okay. The board approved the purchase of projectors for the theater. And at the time, I had that expense recorded in the A fund, as an A fund expense. When the auditors were here about 3 weeks ago, we discussed that, and their suggestion was that given that it's $130,000 that we're spending, it was much more appropriate to record that and keep track of it in a capital fund as opposed to having it just as an expense in the regular budget. But I couldn't move this money to the capital fund without the town board's authorization. So it's money that had already been appropriated by the board for the digital projectors.
Thank you.
But that's for the Civic Center.
Well,
We
same
don't-
place.
We have a theater, we don't have a Civic Center.
Well, H24 is the capital fund.
Okay.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a, oh my gosh, my apologies. Resolution to pay the bills.
I'll make the motion to pay the bill.
Any discussion?
Pass these out.
Dennis? Any?
No.
Call the question?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Okay. We have on the old business, TMAC, the management discussion. This was, I had asked this is the Town of Monroe Art and Civic Center. We have a,
Harley, why don't you skip to new business first to avoid any confusion which the public has, because we haven't done the new
resolution,
business.
then, you're right, absolutely right. Resolution to rename the Monroe Movie Theater to the Town of Monroe Arts and Civic Center, also known as TMAC.
I'll make the motion to rename the Monroe Movie Theater room to the Town of Monroe Arts and Civic Center, or as in a parentheses, TMACC or TMAC.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
How can we name something a civic center when the only authorization that this board has made in the past is for projectors to run a movie theater? We're running a little bit ahead of our time here, folks. And what we really need is, if you want it to be something other than a movie theater, and even if you want it to be a movie theater, we need a plan. What's the objective? What are we trying to accomplish? What's the revenue projection? What are the costs? Who's going to run it? Without that, and I don't believe in dreaming, unless I'm at Disney World.
Unless where?
Unless what?
I'm at Disney World.
You're calling out.
Well, gentlemen,
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, no,
First
no,
time
no.
I called out. Why don't you shut your mouth? Why don't you shut your
I
mouth?
think that we should,
Excuse me, please, folks, you want to keep it down over here? We're trying to conduct the meeting.
Why don't you be quiet?
ladies and gentlemen, please keep it down.
I think renaming it TMAC just sends a message that it's not the same old theater it was before. We obviously have plans on the first 3 theaters, which actually encompass the first 2 floors, to show first-run movies, which is what we've always been told by the majority of people who've been vocal about the movie theater anyway, who they want to show first-run movies. And we will be doing that. That's the main objective. There was a movie theater upstairs. It would be called, I guess, it must be called Theater 6, which is to the right on the 3rd and 4th floors of the building. That is being converted to show also movies and different shows. And there's going to be a new screen put in there also, so that will be used to entertain the public. And that will also have some other uses that we'll make the public well aware of before we get to that point, and get feedback on it, which we've already gotten some. And the 4th cinema, which is upstairs on the left side, that would be maybe used to show some older movies on 35mm format, which we already have the equipment for and I believe the screen for. That would not cost much to bring up to operational capacity, so that some of our townspeople, should they choose, will go and see reduced price, maybe 2nd run or 3rd run movies that are much more economical for people, similar to the movie theater they have up in Middletown. They're what I call the old Plate Togs shopping center, where they had 2nd run movies. They still have something to that effect there, although the prices have gone up a little. But something for people who don't want to spend so much money going to see a movie, or perhaps haven't seen the movie yet. We're looking at different ideas to entertain the public. That's what we're talking about. What's that?
Well, what I would,
It's on different points of progress.
I think that members of the board, a lot of us we have different visions of where we want to go with this, but we still have to have a real sit down with the town, with people coming in, have an open forum. Let's discuss openly what we want to accomplish. I'm not saying it's a bad idea with what is being discussed, but we have to have an open discussion of what the town really is looking for, what people are looking for in the town. I would like to see that. I'm not saying your idea is wrong. I'm just saying we have to go further on this and have some kind of a plan. It's almost.
And we couldn't agree more. And fortunately, many people have, all of you fortunately have the emails regarding what's going on in the movie theater. The one thing that I am very proud of with my board is not only the incredible amounts of emails that they get regarding the movie theater, but their response to the emails. So I'm glad that you folks, all you and Dennis, the last couple of weeks, I know that I've been trying to bring you up to speed. We spent last Sunday almost 2 hours over at the movie theater. When we could have been home, we were doing what we needed to do, and that's get an understanding of where we wanted to go. We showed Dennis George, the Theater 6, which would be the community room, the amount of wiring, the equipment that the production facility would have. That would be for the Channel 22 to be able to broadcast live, the theater itself to be able to house the fixed cameras. The quality of the resolution would be much higher than it is here. All of Channel 22 would be now programmed from there. The Village of Monroe would be able to use the facility so that they could house their board meetings, their planning board meetings, their other meetings. It would give the other municipalities a chance to be able to do the same. Right now, the town of Monroe is the only municipality that does programming. Even though the other municipalities have gotten money for their work, for their cable franchise, for the equipment where we put the money to the best use. So it's a way of inviting not only the other municipalities, but different organizations to come in. For example, we have the different Girl Scouts, different organizations, to be able to come in and use the facility for their betterment. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you please keep it down. This way, a soccer team, if they wanted to show their soccer game, they actually could see it there. They could, the school could wind up using the Theater 6 as a community room. And it's certainly at a cost less than what they, excuse me, I'm speaking otherwise. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try to not have to have a break. We're just trying to get through this so that you have a chance to speak. And then if you have some comment to make, please feel free, but let's get through this so that we can get to the next part of the town board meeting. So when we look at the work that's been done, it's absolutely almost ready to go. The delivery of the equipment, the camera equipment is pending. We've got a whole production facility, and I'll use the term facility, almost right at the verge of going online. I think there's one cable that somehow didn't get connected by the installer, and that's just a question of scheduling, and then we'll be ready to, and I'll use the term, give Channel 12-like broadcasting to the town, and that will be in the town and throughout the villages. So that's the sum total. So the plan is has been developed for quite a while. The management for that has been much different. But remember, as the Times Herald Record editorial stated, we were sued for 2 years. We were told, the public was told for 2 years, I'll use the term lied to, that we could not, by law, show first-rate movies, blockbuster movies. It was a lie. It was a lie that some people bought and many of you didn't. But now the lie is over, the lie has been exposed, and we will be showing first-run blockbuster movies. And we have good news because unless there's another lawsuit which is going to try to prevent it, we will prevail and we will be opening first-run movies very, very soon. We're waiting for those cameras to come in, they're on order, and we're ready to go. In the meantime, we have a resolution to rename that movie theater, which has sat there for years, dead and dying, and it will be open very soon. So the motion is to change the name to the Town of Monroe Arts and Civic Center. We need a motion for that? No. Okay, we need to call the question?
Well, there is a little bit more discussion.
Is there more discussion? You can have more discussion?
No, I mean, because I was also speaking with the mayor, and trying to get, someone to run the downstairs theaters so we can have that, what people are looking for, the first run theaters. So, I mean, your vision of having an open forum for people to use for public access is one thing, but we still have to get this show on the road, and being shut down for 2.5 years, I couldn't agree more. We got to get this moving.
Rick, it was your vision in the first place that got us to the point where we are. That's a positive. Rick, that's a positive. That's a compliment. That is. Because had it not been for you, basically telling Peter Berman, Mr. Berman, what you're saying is incorrect. Mr. Berman, you said you were going to make it an office space. And someone, one of the elected officials, called you a liar here at the Town of Monroe board meeting, that you were lying, that Mr. Berman was going to open it as a movie theater and he had no intention of doing it. You brought that to our attention. We believed you. We did not believe him. And that's where we are. Over 2 years later, we're at the point where, because of your tenacity to be able to secure this property, we're here now on the verge of being able to give the town and the residents something to which they have been precluded from being able to get for over 2 years because of litigation. And each step of the way, they lost. The only one who didn't lose, wait, the only one who really lost is one gentleman who invested his dream, and invested $30,000 in his dream of being able to provide movies for his theaters, for the movies for his grandchildren. Unfortunately, he's moved on. But his dream of opening that movie theater so his grandchildren can come and see it, I think it's going to be true in the next couple of weeks. So, gentlemen, we need the motion again, simply to rename this theater.
Yeah, let me just say that the basic building block of the theater, it is the 3 downstairs screens. And we're negotiating with a group that has a lot of experience in this area. We'll do the bookings and we'll run it for us. So that's what the public wants. They want films to be seen, and that's what we're going to give them. And there will be first run and blockbuster movies here. So that it'll be a movie theater and a civic center. So and at this point, the only thing in front of us is renaming the building so that it correctly reflects what we want to do with it and what we're going to do with it. So I'd like to vote on this.
Well, I just don't, I just recall that, we did get out of a long and lengthy lawsuit on this. I just don't want to be in any violation of that lawsuit. I'm trying for us to...
Rick, counsel would be able to describe that better than anybody else.
Please.
Michael, are we in any way abrogating?
The only representation you made by resolution that was submitted to the court was that you would not use it as a town hall, and there's no proposal to use it as a town hall.
Correct.
Channel 22.
I don't want to be in violation of that, but I still want to have a, we've been hashing this out. Maybe we should have one special meeting just to find out exactly.
We're going to have a lot of special meetings. We're going to have a lot of meetings.
Because I think that's what a lot of people want.
And let me say this.
Renaming the building isn't spending your money.
We were told, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking to Councilman Cologne. We were told repeatedly, the public was told repeatedly, they have 9 buyers for this theater. We haven't heard of one. Now, we've had a number of management companies that have come, and they've gone. That's true. Now, the mayor has indicated to you he has somebody that might be interested. I know that the president of the Monroe Chamber of Commerce, about 1.5 years ago, introduced us to Nan Wilson and her husband, a company called Illegally Productions. We worked with them until the second lawsuit came about. Then we had to stop. We had secured their efforts, thanks in great part to Paul Castellano and the support from the Monroe Chamber of Commerce. He thought he thought that they really could do the job, and unfortunately, we got hit with a second lawsuit. But, so we've been inviting the idea, we've had a number of groups coming in to be able to look at the property. Theaters 1, 2, and 3 obviously have been positioned so that they will be running first-run blockbuster movies, and that the other areas, and one of the theaters will be, out of the 6, one of them will be dedicated to 35mm film, because we have a Christie 35mm projector plus the spare parts to be able to run continuously the 35mm movies as well. So we have the theater space accounted for, as well as the first floor, second floor, third floor, and as my emails have indicated to you, they certainly reflect a solid plan. In terms of the income generated, that's something which Peter can probably discuss at a better time. But
one point I'd like to make. We were told by people that they had 9 buyers lined up to do this and buy that and so much money. If any legitimate theater group or cinema group or theater chain had ever come to us with a legitimate offer to buy the theater, buy the whole building, and run it as a movie theater, where we could also, we talked to our attorney about this, maybe lock them in where they'd have to keep it as a cinema for at least 5 years or some kind of number we would come to agreement with. So they wouldn't just turn it over into a commercial space, which most people would do with that building. We haven't had those offers. We haven't had someone come up and say, I'm gonna pay you this, I'm gonna pay you that, I'm gonna give you a slight profit or a major profit, whatever we can agree to. And when we talked to the experts in the theater business and the cinema business, they told us that in their opinions, it would be very unlikely that we would get such offers to run it as a movie theater because the state of the industry, the changing ways people get their entertainment, and the amount of money that you'd have to spend to take a family of 5 to that theater, or any theater, whatever you want to call it, to have the opportunity to see a movie. So there's been changing dynamics and a lot of issues, and as we said the other week, we managed to get the equipment a little cheaper because of the fact that with the economy, they've lowered the prices of the equipment. So we did get a little bit of break on that. But we are moving forward to make this something that the public will enjoy and appreciate. And down the line, if it isn't a success or isn't something that's cost efficient in the main issue people seem to be calling out, then we would look again maybe to sell it or do something. It's not locked in stone, but we're trying to do something with the building that the people of the town of Monroe will enjoy, and when other people from around the area come and pay their tickets prices, will help support the building. It's never meant to be a money generating machine to make big profits. It was meant to pay for itself and to provide entertainment for our community. Thank you.
Gentlemen, you still have the motion. Call the question?
No. Aye.
Aye.
No.
Now, regarding, I don't think we have to go over the management discussion because we've kind of covered it now. Under old business, we have a request, education request. It's for $50 for Ben Maldonado to go to a solar training program, which is in Poughkeepsie. I believe it's on the 15th or 17th of January. 13th of January. It's the New York Sun Photovoltaic Trainers Network under NYSERDA. You need a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
Any discussion?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, it's a coming industry, and he has to be up to date on what's going on. I think he cited $19,000 in fees that he collected last year for solar installation. So he has to be cutting edge on this.
Okay. Call the question?
Aye. Aye.
We have a request from David Macon. I'm sorry?
No, I was only fine.
We have a question from David Macon. Michael, please tell me, it's name of development, Ridgetop? Michael? I forget. Yeah, I think it's Ridgetop Development. It's a partial bond return. It's for purpose of the discussion. This Mr. Macon, developer over on Ridgetop, and there's anyone from here in the audience that lives over there. This is development that went up a couple of years ago. We've held on to his bond for a number of years. We need some work completed before we can release the balance of the bond, but it's something which Mike and we've met with Mr. Macon. I believe that his counsel has spoke with Michael, and we received a letter from his engineer, which technically should satisfy our engineer in terms of the sign-off on the work that has to be done. However, I believe that Mark Edsel needs to be able to examine the property to ensure that his engineer's letter is adequate and sufficient and does what it says has been done already. I just wanted to open it up because he's been asking for a number of years for this, and I think the last time we did do anything, it was Tony's here, it was to dedicate the road so that you could wind up plowing.
It wasn't a true dedication. It was an approval by the town board to plow the roads.
Okay.
And I have a comment with that. Mr. Macon would like his bond money returned. I understand that. There's many issues up there.
Right.
Number one, a partial fence put around the retention pond, which is it's a complete hazard. The retention ponds have not been maintained. There's issues with the drainage from people's properties onto their properties, into their houses, springing up streams all over the place. The infrastructure, the road is complete because we changed the road specs through Mark Etzel's office. All of these things have to be reviewed, completed before he gets a dime.
Yep, absolutely.
Because the impact to the residents is unfair, and to the town, and the town doesn't need extra expenses 5, 10 years down the road.
Right, there's also some issues with the curb, there's some other issues, but again, since we need to make these improvements, the only way of making the improvements is to start discussing what improvements have to be done. We understand that the engineer signed off, but until Mark signs off, our engineer signs off, there's really nothing to discuss. But the time is now to start moving it along. So I just wanted to encourage the board. We'll send you the documentation. Obviously, we'll get CC to the highway, and whatever highway has in terms of concerns, you know, the board will be familiarized with. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. One question.
With the amount of time that's passed by, would it be prudent for us to, with the agreement of engineering, highway, you know, attorney, to contract out this work now? Because it doesn't seem to me that Mr. Macon is going to do this required work in order to get his bond money back. I understand he wants his money back. Everyone would. It's money he put up as a bond. But can we move ahead maybe at the next meeting and get this going to have this work done so that eventually we can settle up with him? But without the work getting done, as Tony said, and we agree, we can't settle up the bill with him.
Yeah, we're in a rock and a hard place on this.
So let's just get
He
the
has
work.
to, either he has to agree that certain work has to be done, or we have to take whatever the next step is to secure an alternative response if he's not going to respond, if work has to be done. However, we got a letter. The letter says, according to his engineer, the work has been done. Now I'm coming to the board and saying, it has to be approved by highway, has to be approved. Yes, Peter.
Hi, Orange.
Okay, you were there.
Yeah, I know, and I just wanted to interject for you here at this point too. At that meeting, I provided a printout of the original deposit and all withdrawals that had been made and the balance. And Mr. Macon indicated that he wasn't very happy with what he saw as the balance. And I believe that there's also an issue that predates me around here, but some of you probably remember about some engineering fees that are involved here as well. And whether or not, and those engineering fees have been incurred by the town, it's about $50,000. And there's a dispute as to whether or not those fees are legitimately should be coming out of this bond or not. So, you know, I think that there are a lot of issues here in addition to the ones that you've already explained.
So,
let's move it along.
all right, so we'll start giving you the information.
Tom has some.
Great key points you made. What I would suggest, if the board approves it, is to get estimates on the needed work and formulate it into a proposal, present it to the town board and Mr. Macon, engineer and attorneys, and a decision, a logical decision can be made in protecting the town and its residents.
Okay, thank you.
We have... That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll set the time, it's 9:30. We'll set the 45 minutes for discussion. I know that wasn't anticipated. Please leave, keep your comments limited to... Oh, you know what? We've been asked to take a 5-minute recess, and then we'll be returning for part of public comment. Thank you. Oh, wait a minute, we need a motion?
I'll just take a break.
5-minute break.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We've had a delay for a couple of minutes, 10, 15 minutes. We are going to insert a public comment part of this meeting. It wasn't scheduled, but I thought that it would be a good opportunity to be able to engage the audience, especially to celebrate the first night with our new councilman, Dennis Waters. As you know, that Dennis has waited and he's been very patient in getting seated. And we look forward to working with them. Dennis will have access to virtually every single thing that goes on in the town of Monroe. there's any corruption, any fraud, any deceit, anything that is wrong, Dennis is going to find out. He's going to report it to you. And if people, let me tell you this, and if people have done wrong, they're going to be held accountable. Dennis is going to do this. Dennis is going to do this because he's going to investigate everything and everyone. Dennis is going to look at the planning board. He's going to look at the zoning board. He's going to look at the town board. He's going to look at everything and everyone to decide, to finally find out what is going on in the town of Monroe. And this town board is looking forward to helping him achieve that goal. Because in the next weeks, Dennis will be reporting back to you what he's found. And I think you folks are happy with that, aren't you? Okay, so that being said, Rick, Jerry, is Jerry there? Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have, and we're looking at the time, we're going to make it a half an hour. We'll have a half an hour of public comment. We're going to make it 3 minutes. Again, if it becomes anything less than civil, if it becomes accusatory, if it becomes anything other than something which reflects, again, and we're here to really to celebrate, you know, a very important election. We're here to be able to introduce the board to Dennis, Dennis to the board, and this board collectively as one functioning body. We're here, we take our, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking, excuse me, please, would you, please. We have what we consider to be an absolutely extraordinary comptroller. He has done everything to make sure that the books are in great shape. We have what I know is more fund balance in the town of Monroe than anywhere else. Again, Dennis will be examining the books along with Peter. They both have the background in this. I know that they're looking forward to working together. And as they're working together, they're probably going to look and make the process even better than it is. Peter's done a great job. We know that the comptroller has indicated so. Excuse me, let me finish, folks. Anything, unless there's some proof to the contrary, is just innuendo and accusations without any merit. But the good thing about Dennis being on board is that it will instill confidence one way or the other that the way we're moving forward is the way we need to move forward, and that we're complying with the laws. And no one can ask for more than that. So if there are laws which are being violated, the laws. So if there are laws that are being violated, Dennis, we all expect you to be able to nail it. We expect you, just like all of us, to be able to find out what laws are being broken, if any, and we make sure we report it to the public so the public sees once and for all exactly what people have been claiming for years. Is there corruption? Dennis is going to find it out, folks. So before we begin, a round of applause for our new councilman, Dennis McGuire. So, please, come on up. And first of all,
Alice Allen?
Are you missing?
Hello. Hi, my name is Alice Allen. I live in Harriman, New York. I apologize. I don't have any notes. I left them at home, so I apologize. I just want to take this opportunity to wish everyone on the board and their families happy New Year, and I hope you have a safe and prosperous New Year. And Ms. Beans and your attorney and your security guards, I just want to wish that for you.
Thank you.
And I forgot what else. Oh, Dennis, thank you. Thank you. And the dog shelter, thank you. You know, I left my notes at home, so I don't know what date it happened, but it was, I think it was November 11th when fire was set on the place of worship for some people, I think from the Alliance. I don't know what the structures were made of, but it was a place of worship. And I just find that very disturbing. I mean, I can only imagine, no, I can't imagine somebody telling me where and when I can worship. And no matter what the structure is built of, if it's St. Patrick's or if it's cardboard boxes, it's still a place of worship and it deserves respect. And in my opinion, it was a terrorist act. It could have been done by American to an American, but in my opinion, it's still a terrorist act. I'm not accusing anyone, but I'm just saying the act of setting a place of worship afire is, it should be condemned. And I haven't heard anything from the town board condemning that action, so I just wonder when that...
Actually, I am on the record for it, so...
I didn't hear it or anywhere, I didn't see it anywhere.
And I'll do it right now. Actually, may I?
Yes, please.
I condemn.
I'm not saying,
I
I'm
condemn
not
and I did
accusing.
condemn. I also made sure that I was there that evening. I was there that evening when this horrible thing took place.
Okay.
Because not only were the state troopers there, but I spoke with and I worked with the arson squad from both the county as well as the inspectors in another department. We stayed on top of the investigation because part of the issues were the permitting, the approvals. How did these buildings come to be? We still don't know.
Well, regardless of how they came to be, they were set ablaze.
No, bear with me. Because part of it is that we were looking to see the origin of all this, from the inception of the buildings to the use of the buildings to the unfortunate scenario which unfolded, and that was the burning down. Now, the report said that it was undetermined. Now, this is from, I believe, the troopers and from Orange County, the arson department. So their investigators, I don't know what their status is at this point, but I'm sure that the owners of the property, I'm sure that the owners of the buildings themselves, you know, are on it. But it was our concern, and again, these are emails which are perfectly. I'll try to open them up so that they're not subject to this, so that they don't have to be foiled, so that you can see. But there was a back and forth exchange between this board and the authorities, expressing their concerns about what I considered to be arson. So I condemned this from the very first day. I know what I did. I can't speak on behalf of the other board members, but I can tell you that I did it publicly, I did it openly, and I did it through the course of emails, and I know that the town board members shared the horror and expressed their disdain for what we considered to be at that point, even prior to the issuance of the report. It just looked too suspicious because it was set in too many different areas.
Exactly.
We agree with you 100%.
Okay, but you know, it was bulldozed, what, the next day, so I don't know how they're gonna find out who did it, but I'm just
It wasn't
saying-
bulldozed the next day. What it was, and again, this is something which was a concern, the investigators, the arson investigators, did whatever they needed to do. What happened subsequently, I don't know. But there was whatever long and protracted investigation needed to be done by Orange County Arson, that unit, they did what they needed to do and then concluded their investigation. Whatever happened next, again, I wasn't privy to it.
Bulldozing was done as a safety issue.
As a safety issue, okay, thank you.
And the whole board, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, no, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I also, knowing the board members to be reasonable people, that we all condemn any kind of act of, as you said, terrorism, violence, or arson, because it certainly, you know, from a layman's point of view, seemed like that. And I don't know what the total official situation will come to a head, and they'll figure out exactly what happened. Hopefully they can. But no one on the board in any way would do anything but say that's a horrible thing to do. And it was lucky that there was no injuries or life loss.
And I was there with members of the Alliance, Lieber Deutsch, and a number of other people on different occasions, because we had some issues regarding, I think, school lunch programs and some other issues that had come up that needed some type of intervention. So I was familiar, I was there when the girls were there. I was there on a number of occasions with Lipo, with other people from the Alliance, from Sherry Torr Girls School. The issue became when the Department of Education had wondered how this came about. We didn't have answers. So whatever investigation we did in terms of the origin of the placement of these units, became obviously secondary, because the most important thing was, were the girls safe? Fortunately, the Alliance has the school across 17, the Glenwood School. And for any of you that are familiar in the area, the Glenwood School is, and there are pictures of myself, Rick, we all have pictures of that wonderful afternoon where we met with their Grand Rabbi. His name is Zalman Teitelbaum. We were there. We all were there to celebrate the breaking of the ground. So we're very familiar, all of us, with the Alliance and with their journey to try to get the type of housing, the type of opportunities that they feel, and schooling, and we work with them. So we know Lipo, we know these folks very, very well. And one of the nicest things was, as horrible as this fire was, to be able to celebrate, and all of you, I really would welcome you to go over and take a look at what is being created, really, on this side, 17, with the schools and with the property. It's really remarkable, because you will appreciate the efforts that everybody has gone in to try to create this by the book, following the rules, and I thank the Alliance, Sherry Torr, Benaduel, and all those folks for doing things the right way. I know that Dennis has been on the board, on the zoning board, and on the planning board throughout the years working with them, and they've stated that they appreciate the cooperation and professionalism that Dennis has shown, and I know that they share that same type of enthusiasm with many of you folks out here as well as ourselves. So while we condemn what was done, we praise their efforts to be able to provide for their children's future.
Okay, all right, thank you for doing that. And another, is that part of my 3 minutes?
No, it's fine. And my apologies.
My second thing is, maybe I'm getting too close for comfort here, but your new secretary, Leah Felberman, I just question, I find out that she's married to, what's his name, Ari Felberman? Ari, and he is on the government. He's part of the government?
Government liaison.
Liaison, okay. She's the one that got 50% raise, and she's making, what, close to $34 an hour?
No,
Is it $34?
no. She went from, because she went from part-time to full-time, she went from, I believe it was 18 to 24, which we have done with other employees in the past. Similar type of raise from part to full. I don't agree with the fact, and I've argued the point, that part-time workers should make more per hour because they do the work also, but that's generally how it's done.
But the thing is, I'm a little uncomfortable with that. Well, she's your secretary.
No, actually, she's administrative aide.
Administrative aide. But she's married to someone who's trying to force an annexation on me.
I don't know. You're saying
I'm not comfortable with that.
You're saying she's trying to force. I don't think she's empowered to do it.
She's married to someone who's.
But I don't think he's empowered to be able. No one can force an annexation on anybody. That's a legal process.
He's trying to.
No one can force an annexation on a human being.
And I find out she's working on Saturdays, so I don't understand.
No, that's not true.
That's
not true.
She hasn't worked on Saturdays?
That's
But if you're saying it.
I know the way that started. That's a fabrication.
Are you, are you such a taskmaster that she would forgo her religious conviction to work on a Saturday?
We don't have that she's working on Saturday. You're
Well, I'm
saying
asking you, is she working on Saturday?
we're not open on Saturday.
Okay, but was she in the facility? Was she in the, whatever facility, was it the senior center, or was it the, wherever the previous?
Not that I know of. I can't imagine how somebody could be working on a Saturday unless we're open. We're not open on Saturdays. Peter's here on Saturdays. I'm around on Saturdays. I'm 24/7.
Board members.
But certainly the town isn't.
The other issue
Your
is that you brought
administrative
up.
aide was never working on Saturday.
No, I don't think any of our employees have worked on Saturday
If
unless.
she would forgo her religious conviction to come in on a Saturday.
you have to ask her.
What? I'm
We can
asking you.
ask
if
her.
she's-
I don't know, I can't speak for her about her religious
We'll
conviction.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
The best we
I'm
can do right
uncomfortable with that. if.
The other issue you brought up about the annexation, the people you're speaking about now, and you're using their names, which we aren't comfortable with, but we understand it's your question. They are not on any annexation list that's been in this town. The one that happened over a year ago and the one that recently happened, neither of their names, and as far as I know, I don't think any of their relatives' names are on any of these annexation lists, so that's a moot point.
They're not on the list, but from what I understand,
They're not.
and what I've read.
Well, you're understanding it wrong. They're not on an annexation. They're not on the annexation.
I'm done.
The bottom line is they're not.
Okay, and my other question was, has the company name been decided yet, or has the person or persons been decided yet as to who's going to run the theater, whatever you name it? No. I just want to just add, and keep this in mind, I'm sure you're keeping in mind, but I have a limited amount of money that I can spend. You know, I get a salary, and I have to buy groceries, I have to pay for my gas, I have to pay my mortgage. I don't have a whole heck of a lot of money to spend on a theater, or whatever you want to call it, civic center. I don't have that much money, extra
How much money are we,
I don't
bear
know.
with me, because
it
you and I have
seems
the same
like
concerns.
there's $100,000 for a projector. That's the last thing I heard. I don't know what else is next. And then you're going to have to spend money on hiring the people, and I'm paying for the maintenance of this building. The lights are on. I'm paying for the lights to be on. Okay, and then if I want to go see a show, I'm going to have to pay for a show.
Well, if I
can't
understand
afford to
correctly,
pay for a
the lights are on for security reasons, because it has
Marquee.
been vandalized
Okay.
a number of times. It is, and this is what our insurance company recommended. It helps to just cut down. We try not to impose, I don't know if the mayor's here, we try not to impose. The mayor has a $2 million police budget about. That's a big budget. And we're not trying to drain it any more than it is. We're trying to be as independent as we possibly can, so that we don't have to use their resources. So, because the more they have to use, the more people like you have to pay. And we're trying not to do that as well. We're trying to be as economic and at the same time as practical in terms of securing the property, so it doesn't get vandalized.
Okay, thank you.
Veronica Connolly.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. I know it wasn't on the agenda this evening, Supervisor Stoll, for giving the public to speak, so I want to thank you for that. And it's my pleasure to say, Councilman McWaters, thank you. It's been 2 years coming, so thank you for taking the step to come up and represent the rest of us. What I'd like to say, just leading off on what Alice had kind of discussed about the theater, we all have financial issues or concerns, and based on what Mr. McQuaid had said about being in the business of theater, how physically irresponsible it is, and it doesn't make any money, and it's a bad decision, and the people who would have potentially privately run this theater would be losing exponential amount of money. But here we are, a municipality getting in the business of movies. How does that work? How is that better for us as a municipality and taxpayers to foot a bill that you yourself just claimed was really not a good fiscal decision to make? So how do you...
I didn't say that. No, I said, if you allow me to state, I said that a lot of businesses today, the people who are experts in that field, say it is hard today to start and run a movie chain, a movie theater or center, because of the current situation with entertainment. I did say that it would be, to make a, you run the profit motive in private enterprise. We're not here on a profit motive. Nothing, Battle Bus is not profit.
We are.
I'm answering that question if you allow me. We are not here on a profit motive. I always have said, in my opinion, that if we get a certain amount of ticket sales, a positive response from the public, and maybe a few other events that we throw, and we'll put reduced ticket sales on it, because as Alice said earlier, people don't want to spend a ton of money on it, and some people have limited funds, as we all do, I guess. But we just want to have something for the public to enjoy. If we didn't save the theater, in my opinion, if we didn't purchase it you would have never had a theater, a cinema in Monroe ever again.
And that's
my
okay,
opinion.
and that's fine, and I can respect your opinion, but that's okay, because it's not on my dime at that point. I could care less if Joe Schmo came in and opened up a taco stand and it failed. I don't care. It's not on my dime, and I think
I
that's,
respect your opinion.
but I think that's what you four gentlemen don't understand, is that we don't want it on our dime. We don't want to pay for it. I don't want to pay security for your potential police department, Mr. Dole. I don't want to pay.
We don't have a potential police
You
department.
talked about possibly doing it.
That's a bit, let me explain this.
No, I don't want you to. I just want to finish my
please,
statement.
because, no, hang on, we'll stop the 3 minutes.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
That, in terms of potential police department, John Allegro, understandably so, submitted a wonderful, marvelous, probably an incredible document to the town of Blooming Grove, in which he indicated, but the petition is towards the town of Blooming Grove. And it's stated that the reason because you have to have a reason.
I understand.
Because we do not have police.
That was one reason, from what I understood. The other reason was fire, and the third was to preserve the rural character of the community, which is the main reason for Mr. Allegro.
The main reason has to be providing services.
Okay.
That's what I understand. We don't. However.
Well, I live in the village, and my mayor does a wonderful job of providing services, so thank you, Mayor.
And that's why, if you look at your tax bill, you pay a much higher percentage of your tax dollars.
And that's fine by me.
Because the services are provided. That's why it may be fine by the folks there to be able to have a police department like it's fine by you in the village, to have a fine by them policing in that area as well.
Okay, but you're deviating from my question, sir. You're deviating from you're deflecting my question.
Maybe it could be as easy as entering into a dialogue with the mayor to see whether or not the mayor would like to somehow help police that area in the village, in the unincorporated village of Monroe, to contract it out. That happens all the time.
Well, that would be a discussion between you and the mayor. But what I'm saying in regards to the theater,
It's a concern of families' health and their safety. Why should we not address it in the way that we need to? So we encourage this kind of an annexation, or I do, an annexation where people want to be able to improve the quality of your life because the services.
I'm not talking about annexation, sir. You're going on a diatribe. You're on a soapbox.
You mentioned about the police, that's why.
Right, but it went way beyond the scope of my
I
question.
interrupted you and I apologize.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So again, moving again, and the new councilman asked about a potential fiscal plan. You have a fantasy land, as Councilman McWaters had stated. It's a fantasy. You have no fiscal plan of how this is going to be paid, funded, what you're doing with it. It's a fantasy. We're paying for this theater twice, not only to up and run it, but then to go there to go watch the movies that we're paying for anyway. Why would I decide to go twice to pay? You know, it's like I'm paying at both ends.
Well, it's a user fee, it really is. When you look at taxation policy, if you look at...
But if you're saying that you're going to run first-run movies, your words, not mine, I'm still waiting for Iron Man to show and whatever Halloween movie Mr. Dole said he was going to.
We were being sued, and Dr. Pisano had sued us. He spent $30,000 for a lawsuit, and he lost his money.
Well, that's his problem, not mine.
But Iron Man, we thought we were going to show it, but we... Again.
I know, but it's again a fantasy. But it was a fantasy.
That wasn't a fantasy, that was a hardcore reality.
Yeah, your fantasy to show the movie.
It wasn't a fantasy to show it.
Well, I'm still waiting for Iron Man, whatever horror movie you were showing.
Show that as a second run.
Now, if somebody wants to, and they have the right because this is a free country, they can sue again. You can sue anything for anyone.
Isn't that great?
And you can accuse anyone without any proof. It doesn't make it right.
I haven't accused anybody of anything.
I didn't say you did.
Oh, okay, just making sure. Just making sure. But you're
Are you
using,
sure?
I'm positive.
Because I didn't accuse you.
Okay, well, you're using the word accuse, and I just want to clarify.
I just used it in the context of a sentence.
Anyway,
So again,
moving on. So again, so what is the fiscal plan for the theater? Still haven't heard one number except for projections that you're buying with no other plan other than buying movie projections. I can assure you that no soccer team and I'm highly involved in the soccer club in town and in Monroe. I don't know any soccer team that's going to sit and watch their own games. That's what the coaches do on the field. And as a coach myself, I wouldn't sit there. This isn't, NBA or, World Soccer League or anything like that. So I assure you, I don't believe the soccer club would be showing films. So that's definitely not a thing. So again, fiscal plan, numbers. If I was a banker and you came into me, you have no plan of how you're going to create revenue. How are you doing that? Where are the numbers?
And again, these are, Peter, if you want to come up with some of the
Well,
numbers.
some of the numbers are in the budget. If you look at the budget for the movie theater and the things, the numbers.
That's what you're spending. That's not what you're creating. You're not giving us the revenue on what you're creating. Those are what you're spending to get it up and running, potentially.
Based on?
What have you based it on?
Right. We had worked on numbers, and
So what are they?
we'll supply them at the next board meeting.
Well, Councilman McWaters asked you for them. If the comptroller has them, spit them out.
Well, first of all, the board has to decide how, the board has to
Well, I'm
decide.
addressing everybody.
No, we're having a good exchange.
No, this is perfect. I mean, this is better than our normal exchanges, so.
The board has to decide how the theater, the civic center will be operated as far as the movie theater. They have to decide.
Okay, but that's the point, that happened.
But you're asking, not yet, not yet.
But what are you waiting for? It's been 2 years.
Well,
We don't know what the judge is gonna do, bro.
I understand that. I understand that, but when you bought it, there was no lawsuit. You bought it, and your plan was town hall, jails, courthouses.
No, not jails.
I'm sorry, but I've been coming to these meetings for almost 3 years.
Jails, please.
You were going to house potential criminals through the courts. What were they going to hang out
We're
in
going to
the audience?
They weren't gonna be housed at the. Let's not expand it beyond what it was.
That was something which
That's
the
not
past
true.
supervisor, Sandy Leonard, had brought as an idea, the town hall and the court. There was a couple, a family that came here. The young lady, little girl had mentioned that doesn't seem to be a good idea because you would be housing prisoners in the close proximity to the public. Now, that really made a lot of sense because, and I know that
She was
when,
18. She wasn't
I know
sure
when
I was there.
Rick, remember, was the person who promoted this, and we are eternally grateful for that because at the end of the day, I think we all still fully and completely endorse his idea that this would bring.
So Rick was the only one that had the idea to make this a theater? This wasn't your cultural center, art center?
It was not this board's idea to turn it into the courts. Sandy had mentioned that. We immediately recognized that was not something.
Immediately.
Within maybe 2 weeks, we recognized that was not really something we were looking forward to doing. The cost and the discomfort that it would create just wasn't practical.
Okay.
So we abandoned that. And again, we can go through all the emails, and I keep a very good library of emails. We can trace exactly what went on, the evolution of that, right up to the first lawsuit, second lawsuit,
Okay, but
until today.
still no fiscal plan has been established. Even prior to any of the lawsuits being set forth, you bought a theater with no fiscal plan. No one has ever seen one projected number of what the theater or civic center or whatever it is now. There's not one projected number or fiscal plan.
Peter,
So what is that?
Young lady, Peter, by the next town board meeting, will supply the town, the residents, with
A
projected.
5-year projected plan?
I'm not,
Maybe not 5 years.
I can't speak about 5-year plans. I don't know how that works into an accounting program. I just don't.
Well, I think the comptroller will be able to do that, considering he's the comptroller. I mean, he's supposed to have the numbers and the figures. I know Dennis would be able to do it in probably in
You're
jail.
right.
Why don't we have that in Orange?
Throughout Orange
I'm
County.
sure he could, he's a very smart man.
Throughout Orange County.
Just
They don't
like
have 5-year
30 minutes or
plans.
less.
So what's your 1-year plan then? What's your 1-month plan?
Open the theater.
But fiscally,
Again, by the next town board meeting, we will provide you with numbers that have that are based in reality on fair and reasonable projections, not only from what Mr. Addy, the previous owner, had, because we were told by one of the local officials X amount, X dollars. We have been unable to be able to confirm that amount that was stated publicly 2 years ago. We tried to cross-reference it with the New York State Sales Tax Commission and other places. We have been unable to verify. So the numbers that we have, we'll supply you with the numbers that were, and then we'll supply you with the numbers that we believe to be consistent with what our projections would be. So if you can give us until the next town board meeting, that sounds reasonable?
That sounds fair enough, as long as we finally get a fiscal plan. I mean, that's what everybody's been asking for 2 years.
This is the first time that you and I have spoken.
But I speak for myself, and I think a lot of the other townspeople have spoken and asked for the same thing. I know Mr. McWaters, prior to taking his council seat, has asked several times about your fiscal plan, because Mr. McWaters is a numbers man. He is an accountant. He has done these projections.
And we look forward to having him do that part, which, you know what, will complement our comptroller. Okay, so if you give us...
Okay, I will.
Town board meeting.
Sounds good to me. Sounds reasonable, Mr. Dole. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good evening. Happy New Year.
Michael Egan?
Michael Egan, Mr. Egan, first I want to apologize to you. Many months ago, you had asked me to supply you with some information regarding a motion that we, a phone call, I have been unable. So I apologize, I cannot track it down. We moved, we had all these incidents, and I apologize. But hopefully in the future, especially with Dennis, you'll be able to get the answers when you need it. So please, I ask for your apology and your indulgence. Fortunately, we're moving forward and looking for better times ahead.
Okay. I'm going to pick up on this movie theater thing, but I'm going to ask all of you, can we just change the tone of this? It makes me nauseous, I got to tell you. It's this back and forth, belligerent, bombastic nonsense. It's
bombastic,
yeah, bombastic.
Nonsense.
Yes, it's really offensive, and it doesn't play well out here. I got to tell you, it sounds unhinged. Okay, I hate that. We have a professional.
She enjoyed the back and forth exchange, so Veronica was.
Okay, but you know, it's now 10:22 at night. We all work. I don't want to sit here listening to that. I could go to a preschool and listen to 5-year-olds do that. I don't want to do it.
Mr. Egan, in all fairness, we were not going to have a public comment. It was something which we thought would be a nice way of being able to introduce the board for 2015 to the public, especially with Mr. McWaters. I apologize if the tone or the presentation offends you. I do. So whatever we need to do to try to accommodate your particular, sensitivities, we'll
Mr. Gold, it's not, we're going to move on. It's not my particular anything. It's
just to make that point.
It's civil discourse. It's the way grown-ups do things.
Right now to engage in civil discourse with you at a level that you feel comfortable with. So please, ask us the questions.
Please don't do that. Don't do that. It's transparent. You may think like people don't see what you're doing. They do see what you're doing.
People see what you're doing. All we're trying to do is invite you up to speak.
Can we talk like reasonable people rather than this Dennis nonsense? Let's just move on, right?
Let's move on.
Why don't we just let
So I stood here on November 7th, a Thursday night, and I had gone through this budget proposed for 2015. You weren't here. The rest of the board members were. And my particular focus was on this movie theater. And we went through the numbers, and what I was told was that the numbers in this budget were to maintain the building, the rooms there, so that it didn't all fall down and crumble. And I said, I think that's a good idea. I've been a businessman for 35 years, and I'm always the first guy to say, look, we gotta take care of what we have. I know we don't wanna spend this money, but we have to preserve our assets. So I thought it was a good idea. And then I said, okay, so now before we go and spend any capital, hire anybody, and set off to run movies or whatever we're gonna do in there, I would like to see a business plan, and the town would like to see a business plan that has the revenue projections in it, has the expense projections in it, and has the capital expense in it. And I'll distinguish those for you in case you're not terribly familiar. Operating expenses are things like salaries and so forth, and capital expenses are things like projectors. And I was told by the other board members, that's exactly what we're gonna do. And I said, and will the public have input on that once you've done that? Absolutely. So I gotta tell you, I'm stunned to sit here and have everybody just talk about, oh, we spent $130,000 on projectors, and we're changing the name. And I might be wrong, but my take on this change of name is, it's not just a name. What you intend to do is start doing civic, whatever that is, things in there. And you're gonna need people, and you're gonna run power, and you're gonna buy clean carpets, and you're gonna do things. And you're going to slowly, maybe not even as slowly, spend money. So my question to the other board members, absent Dennis and absent Mr. Dole, is what happened to the commitment? We weren't doing this until you came to the town. You said, this is our plan. This is the money we're going to raise. This is the revenue. This is what the capital is going to cost. These are what the operating expenses are. This is why it makes sense. And this is what we're going to do in there. What happened to that? Anybody? Mr. Burke? Mr. McRae? Mr. Colon?
I don't think you want a back and forth, if you want a back and forth now.
No, I'm asking the question, so I do want a response, yeah.
Okay, now you do, okay. My point to you is this, my point to you is this. You're right in what you're saying, we've been slow on that, and that also is a problem. And you've made your point very well. We have been asking questions of the comptroller, the supervisor, and the people who have been working there. We have not nailed down a plan of revenue. We've been more concerned with the expenses. Was that a bit of an oversight on our part? I guess you could say it was, but we were trying to see what was needed to upgrade and to put the place into working order. As you said, also to maintain it, keep it from going to disrepair. Security systems, lighting systems were upgraded. A lot of things have gone on in the 2+ years that we've had the purchase of the theater. When you count at the time, we really couldn't do that much because of lawsuits, and I'm not complaining about it, I'm just saying that's the fact. I think we've done quite a bit to make it better. Now, hopefully in 2 weeks from now, we'll have a much better plan to present to you and to the public as to hopefully an accurate as possible on an estimate basis for a revenue thing. The expense, I think, we'll have a better plan also to show you and the rest of the public. The revenue, as I'm not an accountant, I guess Dennis is, Peter has lots of that, but I've done some estimating in different businesses. Estimating is not an exact science, but we'll try and do the best we can on that. So we'll work on that in the next 2 weeks and try and get something to you.
Okay, and Jerry, what I would ask, just so we don't, you guys don't come with like a half a loaf deal and then, so, what you do in business is what I'm asking you to do, right? To come in with, a little narrative that says, this is what we're going to do in there. Here are the activities we're going to run first. Movies, we're going to have, whatever Ronnie said, soccer team show their movie, blah, blah, blah. These are the activities. So we know, right? And here's our time frame. We're going to start on March 1, and we're going to kick it up a notch on June 3rd. The plan. Here's how we're going to generate revenue. We're going to charge $5 for this, and we think we're going to have, 2,200 people a month on average, and we're going to generate $10,000, $12,000 a month, and it'll be this much for the year. Our expenses attached are going to be the following, and this is where it is employees, this is where it is in utilities, and our capital, meaning projectors and this kind of stuff, is going to be there. And then, then we can really look at it. But if you come in with, like, based on the other guy's thing, we think we might have, you know, $22,000 in revenue, and you don't talk about the expenses, and you don't talk about the capital, then there's no way to make a decision as a citizen who's paying the bill, whether that's good or bad. You know? So that's what I'm asking for. And then my last comment to you guys is that, you know, I don't think anybody in this town, well, not anybody, that's an overstatement. I don't think most people in this town would like to see the town fund a lost leader there. Something that, you know, the town is investing $50,000 a year to have a venue where soccer teams can show their teams their films and dance companies can hold recitals. I don't think that we want that. And if that's your intention, it's your fiduciary responsibility to be straight with the people and put it out there in the way I described, and then let them decide, not you. You know, you're just 5 guys, right? And there's another 50,000 people out here who are paying the bill. All right, thank you.
Why answer that? First of all, I don't predict, and I'm not able to make vast predictions on the movie business. Never have been able to. I think we're going to, unfortunately, in anything else, we kind of learn as we go, which is, I think, happens a lot. But I will tell you, I would hope that it would break even. I don't think it's going to make money for the town. That's my own opinion. I think that a hopeful expectation of mine, only mine, and no one else's, is that we break even and provide good entertainment for the public. I think we did that, I think we'd be okay.
Yeah, well,
the other thing I want to mention to you, and it's something that Veronica brought up earlier, I did, along with other people, having to coach a local youth sports team to a championship recently, and after the season, we had a little party where we went to a place, a venue locally.
Right.
We showed the film, because one of the parents was nice enough to film it, and we had a nice time looking at it and enjoying it, because it's a fun time for the kids. So I do think that some kids and parents will enjoy something like that.
I agree. I've coached soccer for a million years. I agree with you. It's a blast. But I don't think, you know, the townspeople would say, we'll spend 50 grand a year for those parties. I just don't.
Lorraine Lone?
Hi, good evening. My name is Lorraine Loning. I live in the village of Monroe. Thanks for having a privilege of the floor tonight. I wasn't really expecting it, so I'm kind of unprepared. But I do have a couple thoughts about the meeting this evening. First off, I'm very sad that Mary Bingham's not going to be on the planning board. I think that the town is losing an awful lot of experience, and she really brings a lot to that position, and I think it's a bad day for the planning board. Anyway, next up, Peter Martin, you said when you were doing all these budget transfers that we could, you know, look at, play along at home basically. And I do play along at home. I keep really good notes, and the only time I'm able to find out what money is hitting a line is when we go over a line. Is there a way that on the website we can see expenses every month as they hit each line, so that we can see, you know, line ABC is under or over, or you know, what department's going under or over, so that there really is more transparency, and it's not at the end of the year when we're moving monies to cover shortfalls here and there. So in the interest of helping me play along at home, I would appreciate that. And then the last thing I have is Mr. Doles, you neglected to appoint a bookkeeper. You said you were going to get back to that, and you didn't. So I'm wondering, does the town not have a bookkeeper now?
The town, I'm going to ask that, and it's one of the things that we would ask that we create a position for bookkeeper. I'm not sure whether or not I want to use my appointment, so I'm going to ask the town to create the position.
And then you'd have another appointment?
Not necessarily.
No, but you could, okay. All right, thank you.
want to point out to Lorraine, I know she had an issue or feeling about the planning board, and she's entitled to that. Mary Bingham and I have talked about certain things about the planning board, and I had a discussion with some current planning board members in the foyer earlier about some serious issues. There's been other issues that have been brought up by other people about planning board situations and issues. I just want everyone to understand that the decision that was made was not come too lightly or cavalierly by anyone on the board, and we just made a decision for a change, which is not meant to besmirch anyone or go against anyone. What this board has done, which I admire, and I'm part of it, was when we've had partings of ways with employees or board members in the past, we've done, in my opinion, nothing to besmirch their reputation, their hard work, and their dedication to the town. What we've done is, if we have certain issues, we do not publicize them. If I was a member of such a board, I would appreciate that. There were some things that were troubling to some members of the board, and it wasn't come to as a cavalier decision. All that being said, I appreciate and I want to thank Mary. I like Mary personally and professionally. Thank her for all the hard work she did. And it's been a pleasure to deal with Mary on the planning board. I kind of was her liaison to the town board for quite a few years, and we always talked civilly and professionally with each other. And hopefully we still do. And I did offer to Mary that she's always been a public citizen, so to speak, and that if things came up on some future boards or some future volunteer situations, Mary's always been a volunteer too, that she said she wanted to wait a while and see what happened down the road, and she might actually take us up on something like that. And I appreciated that mature way of looking at the things that Mary had. So I just want to thank Mary for that.
3 cheers for nepotism.
Thank you, Mary.
Kay Triano?
Kay Triano, Village of Monroe, and unabashed Town of Monroe Art and Civic Center, or TMAC. For 2 years, the theater was closed, useless. Really 3 if you consider the year it was out of business. Senseless lawsuits, both dismissed. So unnecessary, so unproductive. I never understood the vehement opposition to the Civic Center until one day I realized that it wasn't about the building at all. It was a political rallying point. It still is. It is not at all about the Civic Center. It never, ever was. We could go on for a long time about what it really was about. I think most of us in this room know what it was about.
Actually, and I appreciate your enthusiastic support. Remember, we are trying to keep political content out of this. Let me say this. It's 10:40. I called this time to try to somehow reach out to communicate. Now, perhaps I'm not doing the job that Mr. Egan is stating quite as elegantly as I could, but I'm going to try harder. Mr. Waters represents a good bridge, and somehow you've got to learn to take advantage of this opportunity. I understand the movie theater, annexation, there are a lot of things that are extremely important to people in this town. But right now, I would like to take this time so that the townspeople understand that they have a town board, that regardless of what they think of Gedalia Zagadin, Lipa Deutsch, Ziggy Brock, Harley Doles, Abe Glantz, any of the people that are associated with Curious Joel, any of the people that they feel are being treated specially. At the end of the day, what's most important is how we treat all the residents in this town. I am trying right now to absorb maybe some of the animus which was brought on by a failure to communicate. And I understand and I do appreciate what you're saying. However, there's a political component to it. And I think it's justified that we try to remove it as best as we can in the future so that the board can be as constructive as the townspeople here that are sitting here at almost 11 o'clock at night, as well as the people who are at home. So, however you have to
All right.
craft...
I apologize for getting political.
No.
I will-
One thing is I want to say, people, the lady who came up to speak now, you might not agree with her, but please let her speak as, excuse me, people out jeering and booing and hissing, please show a little courtesy to every speaker. When you get up, hopefully you'll get the same courtesy. Thank you.
Well, again, I apologize for making any political comments. I would like to say, maybe instead of focusing on all the negatives about this, there are so many positives. Movies, art films, a community center, fundraisers, classes for kids, local filmmakers having a venue to show their films. All of this is within our reach. All of this is a good thing. It doesn't make sense that people are so incredibly hostile about it. We have the opportunity for something good here, and we should take it. I guess that's all I want to say. And also, just on a side note, I never ever got a 30% raise, and my husband and I will not be running the Town of Monroe Art and Civic Center, which seems to have been a people.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Ward Brower.
Ward? Okay.
Thank you for quenching the rumor mill.
Anytime.
Ward Brower, excuse me, private citizen. First, I'd like to make a request again, and that is that when department head reports are done in the second meeting of the month, that they be done by a member from that department. I don't care if it's a head, chair, or what, or just one. As an interest for the public, to get the most bang for their buck and to move the meeting along. Second announcement is really an announcement about the Conservation Commission. The normal meetings for the Conservation Commission are the third Wednesday of every month. This month there's going to be a change. The meeting's going to be on the next day on a Thursday, and the venue is going to be changed to the 488 Club over off Lakes Road. And the time is going to be 8 o'clock. Now, why we did this is because we have a guest speaker, Ed Hilbig, from the Water Authority. I've known Ed for 20-some years. And he's going to be asking questions, or fielding questions, and he will have the answers, I hope. I know he will. On water conservation, in particular, the uses that's pertaining to Walton Lake. There's a lot of questions about Walton Lake and other ramifications thereof. So I urge everybody to attend that meeting. My third thing and last is that in the Conservation Commission, we deal with resources. We deal with air quality, we deal with water quality, we deal with trees, we deal with open space. But there's another resource in this town that's just as equally valuable, and that's human resources. And it saddens me tonight to learn that a person that I know, because I've known this person for over 15 years. There's no one I know was more dedicated, knowledgeable, hardworking, or honest than Mary Bingham. I've worked with her on the Conservation Commission. I've worked with her as she was on the chair of the Planning Board. And that person will be certainly missed by me, and the effects will go beyond whatever I do. Town will pay a severe price for that. I think it was a mistake. That's my comments.
John Allegra.
Gentlemen of the board, I stated for the record before, and I'll state it again, I have a great admiration and respect for the New York State Police. The New York State Police have responded to my home in times of emergency, in times when I've called upon them. Part of the reason for a petition that I submitted last week was to go from good to better, nothing more. Mr. Doles, I take great offense to your insinuations that I am somehow speaking poorly of the state police. I am not.
I apologize if that's a conclusion that you drew. If I did so, I apologize to you.
Well, I think any reasonable person would conclude that.
But would you,
Okay.
as an olive branch to try to assuage your concerns, I apologize if that is the impression that I gave.
Okay, well then we should put an end to it here and now. We shouldn't speak on terms like that anymore.
We're going to do that right now.
In addition, this should not be an opportunity for you to make comments about a Monroe PD or a town of Monroe PD or an enhancement of whatever security force you have now. Especially given the fact that just about a year ago, the board, minus Mr. McWaters, declined, voted no on an annexation petition for the old mine project. One of the stated reasons was you have police protection already anyway. So we shouldn't look at this as an opportunity to opportunistically make a lobby attempt to develop some form of police force or insinuate any other way that the state police are not doing their job or the village PD is not doing their job, whatever it is. So let's end that right now. And this annexation petition that's before us now, that was one of the health and safety reasons given. It's all going to come out in a joint public hearing, at which anybody here and anybody in the community will have an opportunity to speak out whether or not it is in the overall public interest. Thank you.
I find one thing a little troubling with the annexation situation. My problem is this, is that this is over a year, well over a year ago now, there was an election in the town of Monroe. Certain people won, certain people are accused of getting support only from one side of the town and that they did not then represent the other side of the town, which is not true. But then a couple months later...
Young lady, excuse me. If you use that language again to describe one of the councilmen or anybody, whoever that was, you will be removed. Okay? Thank you. Ed.
The one thing I want to make a point that strikes me as strange is that a few months later, I think it was December 27th about, there was an annexation petition put forth which involved the town of Monroe and the village of Curious Joel. And from that point forward, I was a councilman here. I remember the signs and the language and the accusations and the paper and everything else about votes for land deals, acidics, this and that. Well, I'm answering to his annexation statement.
I said nothing about that.
I'm answering to the annexation statement. Thank you, John. And no one said that the police weren't doing their job either, so we let you say that. The problem
no, Mr. Doles said that I said that. Mr. Doles insinuated that I was doing that for that reason.
He mentioned about the fact that the annexation
and I've kept the emails from being public that he's exchanged.
There was a desire for better police protection to that effect. Now, if you let me talk, which I know you don't like to, but I'm going to talk. The fact is that an annexation petition was put forth. All kinds of accusations were made because there were acidics involved in the annexation. Now a year later, I'm going to speak anyway. A year later, there was an annexation petition brought forth on, I think it was December 30th, by John Allegro, a proud member and spokesman for United Monroe, who put forth an annexation petition that had a lot to do with a lot of Hasidic landowners into another municipality away from the town of Monroe. Now all of a sudden I'm to swallow, I guess, and say that there's no politics involved because the same group of Hasidics that are looking to do this are the very same 40% of KJ, the Alliance, that made a deal with United Monroe, with Mr. McWaters, to be put on the board and voted for. So those deals are okay. Those political deals.
I have said over and over, there were no deals. I promised nothing, they asked for nothing.
Okay, that's not what I
very
understand.
clear.
That's not what I understand. But my point of it is, that's not what I've been told by the Alliance, but I just want to continue the statement. You can answer back later. My point is that when a deal is made, whatever it is, deals are made in politics all the time. I'm not saying Dennis is wrong. What I'm saying is I've been told by members of the Alliance that deals have not been made in order to secure votes for Dennis and ensure victory for United Monroe. All of a sudden, we're being told in the paper and in person, that's okay because they're the quote-unquote the good Hasidics who voted for us. And there's a thing going around called the KJPE that you put out in the paper. Folks at home, it's hard to talk when I'm screaming at you. But the KJPE, the KJ Power League, the new twist on things, it's the same group of people who voted for everyone else is now voting for you, and that's okay. You can play it any way you want. You can twist it any way you want. But this shows that what you said all along was a lie. You made your deal with Let's not be hypocrites. We're going to take move forward and be realistic and tell the truth. You are going open government, and yet at the same time you make backroom deals with the Hasidics.
You have an accusation to make. You have an accusation to make. Make it right now. I'm right here. Have it take me away. Have it take me away. If you have an accusation to make, be specific. Be specific. Take me away, Jerry. Here I am. Here I am. I'll go willingly.
Thank you.
If you have an accusation to make, make it.
You are such a liar.
If you have an accusation to make, Jerry, look at me. Jerry, look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Hello. If you have an accusation to make it. Call the FBI. Have you guys come and take me away. My comments were completely above board, Jerry. My comments were completely above board, Jerry. You chose to throw this into the mud. You chose to throw this into the mud. There was no backroom deal. If there was, tell everybody, put the mics on. Put the mics on and tell everybody what the deal was. What was it? Tell us then. What was the deal? Tell everybody. You accused me and other people of making a deal. Stay back in. Okay? No. You're going to accuse me of a deal, so tell everybody now.
Don't lie about it.
Tell everybody.
You can make it, but don't
You called me a liar now, huh?
I said you can make it, but don't lie about it. I didn't say you lied.
By telling me no, don't lie about
Why
it.
don't
You're
you come
accusing
up
me of
with
lying.
it? You should tell people what.
Look, if you can't take it, you should leave. If you can't stop it, you should leave.
Thank you, John.
John's not working. Good supervisor, Harley.
Great show. You're a disgrace. A disgrace. Disgrace to the human race. You're a disgrace to the human being. A complete disgrace. Disgrace to the human race. Can't wait till the three of you. Hang tough, Dennis.
Thank you for that, Ron.
Great job. It's gonna be great. Harley, shame on you to let that happen. Love that olive branch. You insulted the councilman on his first night. Way to go. You're shining over to the town of Monroe. Take him down.
The next big. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, I'm sorry, we're going to suspend the balance. It's 11 o'clock, we're going to go into attorney-client.
I'll make the motion, we go to attorney-client.
Again, are we on, George? Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing about Monroe politics is it's never boring. Unfortunately, you know, we've got ourselves some issues. We're going to try to deal with them, and this board will wind up pulling together and trying to do the very, very best. So on behalf of the board, I need a motion to return to attorney-client. Need a second for it?
I'll second it.
Please call the question.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Disgraceful.